The time period was 1000 and 1500 CE. Important motives for long-distance travel were trade, diplomacy, and missionary activity. First, let's get into trade. The Mongols laid the political foundation for a surge in long-distance trade along the Silk Roads. One of the best-known travelers of the Mongol times was Marco Polo. In addition to traveling, he brought back the idea of paper money and wrote about his travels and explorations in the Book of Travels. The Great Khan, Kublai Khan, allowed Marco Polo to pursue his mercantile interests in China and would send him on numerous diplomatic missions. When returning to China, Marco Polo was captured by Genoa and was made prisoner of war. In prison, Marco Polo told his related tales of his travels to fellow prisoners. Rabban Salma was a Nestorian Christian priest who did not succeed in attracting European support for the Ilkhan. Ibn Battuta was best known of the Muslim travelers. He worked to promote proper observance of Islam. He provided guidance in the ways of Islam in societies recently converted to faith. Missionaries attracted converts in large numbers, which sought to convert Mongols and Chinese to Roman Catholic Christianity. John of Montecrivino was most active of Roman Catholic missionaries in China. He translated the New Testament and the Book of Psalms into Turkish and built several churches in China. Religious concepts were spread by trade. Along with religions, plagues and diseases were also spread by trade. The Mongol military campaign helped spread plague from Yunnan to China's interior. Mongols, merchants, and other travelers helped spread diseases along trade routes to points west of China. Europeans referred to the plague as the Black Death.
Man, I've been feeling a little sick lately. But I still need to go trade.
Hey, I'm here to trade.
Okay.
Thank you.
3 days later.
The plague had terrifying symptoms. In some villages, an entire population was wiped out. Recovery from diseases was difficult. In the Ming Dynasty, financial management led to serious economic difficulties and political conflicts. In Western Europe, the kings of France and England spared constantly over lands claimed by both, which resulted in the 100 Years' War. The 100 Years' Wars was a protracted series of intermittent campaigns in which the warring factions sought control of lands in France. In Spain, the marriage of Fernando and Aragon and Isabel of Castile united the two wealthiest and most important Iberian realms. Both sought to make a place for Spain in the markets of Asia. The Renaissance was an important period in European history. The French word Renaissance means rebirth and refers to a round of artistic and intellectual creativity. An impressive achievement was the construction of the dome buildings. Painters such as Leonardo da Vinci relied and used linear perspective to show depth and three-dimensional art. Sculptors like Donatello and Michelangelo created sculptures in natural poses. Renaissance architecture was a simple and elegant style, inherited from classical Greece and Rome. With exploration to the Indian Ocean basin, the Chinese main purpose was to control foreign trade and impress foreign people. The European explorations in Atlantic and Indian Ocean's main goal was to expand Christianity and commercial opportunities. Portuguese mariners like Prince Henry of Portugal were determined to increase Portuguese influence. Important motives for exploration were the search for basic resources and land suitable for the cultivation of cash crops, the desire to establish new trade routes, and the aspiration to expand the influence of Christianity. The Portuguese exploration was in search for fresh resources to exploit and lands to cultivate. Italian investors worked with Portuguese mariners to establish sugar plantations in Atlantic islands. Traveling became easier with the inventions of new technology. For example, square sails enabled them to take full advantage of a following wind. Triangular lateen sails were very maneuverable, making it easier to sail. Navigational instruments were important and very efficient as well. Magnetic compasses and astrolabes were used as it enabled Europeans to travel reliably.
Oh my goodness, I am lost. What should I do? Oh, I know. I think I should look at my compass.
Oh wow, I think it's telling me to go that way. Let's go, guys.
Yay, I'm going the right way thanks to my compass.
Strong wind blow created giant wind wheels, which mariners took advantage of to sail to almost any part of the earth. The Volta de Mar enabled them to sail from the Canaries to Portugal. Mariners began to rely on it, sailing to destinations other than the Canary Islands. Tom Enrique encouraged exploration of West Africa, where he established trading posts at São Jorge da Mina. In 1488, Bartholomew Diaz rounded Cape of Good Hope and entered the Indian Ocean. Vasco da Gama of Portugal crossed the Indian Ocean, immediately following up Diaz's voyage. He reached India and in 1992 brought back huge profit. In 1500, Portuguese merchants built trade posts at Calicut. Christopher Columbus was a Genoese mariner who proposed sailing to Asian markets by a western route. Columbus sought royal sponsorship for voyages. His voyages enabled other mariners to link the eastern and western hemisphere. The Spanish military commander Vasco Núñez de Balboa sighted the Pacific Ocean in 1513. Exploration of the Pacific took 3 centuries to complete. English navigators ventured into the Pacific in search of an exclusive northwest passage from Europe to Asia. Captain James Cook was most important of the Pacific explorers. He led 3 expeditions to the Pacific, Arctic, and Australia, before dying in a scuffle with the indigenous people of Hawaii. By the late 18th century, Europeans had reasonably accurate geographical knowledge of the world. The Portuguese built more than 50 trading posts between West Africa and East Asia. Alfonso de Albuquerque was a Portuguese commander in the Indian Ocean who seized Hormuz in 1508, Goa in 1510, and Malacca in 1511. He forced all merchant ships to purchase safe conduct passes. 2 powerful joint stock companies founded were the English East Indian Company and United East India Company. Both companies contributed to the early formation of a global network of trade. The conquest of the Philippines was approached by the Spanish forces under the command of Miguel López de Legazpi in 1565. Jan Peter Zoon Cohen, an architect of Dutch policy, founded the city of Batavia. The VOC controlled all the ports of Hara, as well as most of the important spice-beating islands throughout the Indonesian archipelago. Commercial and political rivalries led to running wars between ships. The 7 Years' War was a global conflict that took place in several distinct geographic theaters. British and French armies made separate alliances with indigenous people in an effort to outmaneuver each other. Victory in the war placed Britain in a position to dominate world trade and paved the way for the British Empire. The Columbian Exchange was the global diffusion of plants, food, crops, animals, human population, and disease pathogens after Columbus' voyages. The worst diseases spread were smallpox, measles, diphtheria, whooping cough, and influenza. These epidemic diseases staggered population moves. An example being the smallpox raged and reduced the Aztec Empire.